Auto lube systems. Many of our machines are fitted with automatic lubrication systems. Some of the machines, these cover the entire superstructure and rig of the machine. On others, it is only a partial system. This is the unit that delivers the grease to the auto lube, and this is the refill gun needed to top up this reservoir. Now, to insert a cartridge in the gun, we remove the hose end of the gun, pull the plunger out on the back, which will release the old cartridge, insert the new cartridge, which is done large end first. Now, when you're storing these cartridges, it is always better if you store them in the upright position with the large opening at the top, so that any air that's in the cartridge works its way to the top of the tube. It is also easier if you store the cartridges that are going to be used soon around the engine area, so that they warm up with the heat of the engine, and this will make pumping the grease into the reservoir a lot easier. So, having placed the cartridge in, we refix the other end. There is a quick release coupling on the end of the gun with a blank in it, which we can release and take out. Take the cover off of the refill point on the unit and attach the quick release coupling to the unit. To push the grease into the reservoir, we just pump the handles on this end, and we'll see the follower plate rising up the reservoir, and from that we can see when it is full. When the reservoir is full, we can release the gun and replace the stopper in the end. This will help keep the gun clean and stop any muck getting into the reservoir. Now, these guns are very expensive and need to be looked after. When we're pumping grease into the reservoir, if there is excessive resistance on the pump handles here, you need to stop filling the reservoir and contact the maintenance department, because there is an integral filter on the filler pipe here which may well be blocked and will need to be changed. If it's not changed and you overforce the refill pump, it will cause damage to the pump. Now, you see just below the refill point there is a test button here. Now, the use for this button is when you are in harsh conditions, it is possible to give an extra cycle of greasing to the machine by pressing and holding this button for 2 seconds. Once you've done that, and this is with the engine running, the machine will run through a cycle of greasing and put extra grease to the grease points. If you have changed the bucket on the machine and you need to give it a really thorough greasing, if you press and hold that button for 10 seconds, it will continue pumping until such time as you turn the ignition on the machine off. This is the in-cab display for the auto grease system. You'll see that it has a green light on it and 3 graded bars down the side. Now, these indicate whether it is on light duty, medium duty or heavy duty greasing, and to change from one to the other modes, you press the small button on the bottom and you'll see the green light moves up and down the scale. Now, in the normal position, normal mode, then that green light will stay on constantly. When it starts flashing, it means that the grease system is going through a cycle and physically putting grease to the grease points. On the top of this scale, you'll see at times an amber light come on. This indicates that the grease reservoir is getting low. Now, it doesn't need grease filling immediately, but certainly by the end of the shift you would need to fill the grease reservoir. If below that, where this triangle is, a red light comes on, that can mean 2 things. It can either mean that the grease reservoir is completely empty, in which case you need to stop straight away and refill it, or it can indicate a fault with the greasing system. So if the red light comes on, firstly check to see that the reservoir has grease in it. If it has, then you'll need to contact the maintenance department so that we can come and check the system out. All this information on the grease system can be found in the Grundvald operator's handbook, which will be in the cab behind the seat. We must be aware that although the machine has an automatic lubrication system, not all points are covered with the auto lube. The slew ring requires 2 or 3 pumps per week with a manual grease gun, and there are 3 of these grease nipples normally around the circumference of the slew ring. Now if we just walk down and have a look at the auto lube system on the bucket linkage area, which does need particular care and a close eye kept on it. Particular attention needs to be taken to the small grease pipes around the bucket linkage area. They need to be checked for crushing, for leakage, and also all the connections onto these distribution blocks. Now there are 3 of these distribution blocks on the machine, and each one will need to be checked for its condition. Now these are the main feed hoses coming down from the base unit to the distribution blocks. These again will need to be checked all the way back up the machine, and it will be easy to see if there is a fault with them because a large quantity of grease will be discharged. This failure in these pipes will also bring on the red warning light on the control panel that we looked at in the cab. You'll notice that on the bucket linkage many of the pins have additional grease points. These need manually greasing when we're working in heavily arduous conditions or whether we're working underwater, and this is in addition to the work of the auto lube system.